educators, entrepreneurs, but I'm sure all of us are falling into this bracket of parents. Forgive me for my bad voice because I'm just recovering from a bad throat. So, but good news is I'm not the speaker. So Dr. Bhavani Shankar has a fantastic voice. So we'll get to hear him in another 5 minutes. To begin with, just a quick intro about ourselves. We are Future Captains. My name is Tamar Salvan Mahalingam, and I'm the chief employee of Future Captains. And we are basically a career services company. So what we actually provide is an unbiased, continuous career guidance to high school students, graduate students, and working professionals. And we are in the business for the last 3 years. And we have guided more than 2,000 students and students and working professionals. And this is what we are into. And we primarily work in the area of career detection, career guidance, expert mentoring, resume building, portfolio building, and of course, 21st century skills. And we do a lot more work. So anything you take about or rather talk about career, we are into it. Our core values, first of all, me as a parent, before anything else, I always wanted my son to get an unbiased guidance, right? What I mean by unbiased is keeping aside my personal values or my personal interest when I'm guiding a child, and focus only on the child and guiding the parent and the child towards the right career path. And that's a very difficult thing to achieve because everybody's bias comes into play. And we at Future Captains have successfully evolved a model that keeps your personal bias aside and guide the child in a very unique and customized and personalized way. And we are completely outcome based, and we want the child and the parent to go out of the session with a lot of clarity and not with confusion. So that's a promise from our side. And we also believe in continuous, not just one-off advice. We want to be there, we want to be accountable, we want to be responsible for the child, and we want to be the friend, philosopher, guide, walking with the child, making sure that we are there to support them end to end in achieving their goal, right? It could be finding their interest, helping them, choosing their career path, selecting their course, college, getting some expert input, even showcasing their talent to the world, resume building. So end to end, right? So that's what we are into, and that's what we have achieved in the last 3 years. And those who are in the session, you will get a participation certificate. So in the end, we will share all the links that you will have to click and enter your feedback. And we also have our community links where you can participate and you can discuss and you can learn a lot more about how you can be a career evangelist for your student or your child. So we are also having an upcoming event, which is the Parent Guru. This is an exclusive program for parents whose kids are in 10th grade and 9th grade and above. And we understand that the 10th marks have been out, and there's a lot of need in selecting group and everything. So we have got these two sessions, one on 22nd July, Wednesday, another one on 26th July, Sunday. The Wednesday program is exclusively for 10th grade students because we understand there is an urgency in figuring out the group. And Sunday we have a much more relaxed version of it, where we are focusing from 9th grade onwards till 12th grade. So please save your date, and these options will be given in the feedback form. So if at all you're interested, you can participate in that webinar as well. Okay, so here we just want to take it forward. What did we achieve in the previous event? We had Dr. Bhavani Shankar before in the last week, and then we had 1,400 attendees, 6 countries, 20 Indian states, 100 schools and 150 colleges participating in that session. It was a massive event, but then this is a more focused group, where we want parents to come and understand about what's happening with the online education. And why parents? Because parents are going through a lot of difficulty in life, especially jobs, the uncertainty in the market, the cluelessness about what's next. So a lot of things are happening. So we want to make sure that the teachers are addressed and the parents are also addressed. So today we have Dr. Bhavani Shankar. Welcome you, sir. And thank you so much for accepting to do this two-part series, which is, I think, which is very, very important. And interacting with you has given us a lot of, kind of knowledge about what to do, as to with our kids, helping them become successful. A quick intro about Dr. Bhavani Shankar. So Dr. Bhavani Shankar is a passionate and experienced educationalist with a proven track record of success, working across organizations engaged in academic research, post-secondary and K-12 education. An accomplished academic with research and management qualifications, teaching and training certifications, and keen leadership capabilities, he brings with him strategic skills to seed, nurture, and manage the change continuum in education. He is hugely committed to building capacity across academic verticals. He currently leads a team of dedicated educators and actively engages in progressing curricular and instructional designs, pedagogical practices, cross-curricular transactions, professional training, teaching, coaching, mentoring, ideation and innovations. And of course, he does a lot of work in experiential research. Well, that's not just about him. He's well-read, very grounded, very approachable, simple, humble, and I would rather say one of the leadership material I've met in recent past, and I would love to really call him upon to address the gathering. Welcome, Dr. Bhavani Shankar. Kindly unmute yourself, and let's begin the session. And with this, I'm done. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll have it in the end. I think Dr. Bhavani Shankar will take it up for the next 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. And of course, your questions will get answered as much as possible. Thank you, and let's begin the session.
Good morning, everybody. So, and thanks to future captains Tamir and Vasanthi, very good friends, and I'm here primarily to share my learning about what the future is likely to be. I am this guy who has a crystal ball, so I can look into the future. So I'm just guessing nobody can do that. The idea for today's primary discussion is to see whether we are in a position to cope with the changes that the new educational templates are bringing about, who the stakeholders are, and how all of us can make this change a positive one for the client that we service. All of us service the children. And this is the person that needs to draw the maximum benefit. Before we move on, I would like to congratulate all the parents, especially those that had children in class 12 and class 10. You just got the results. I'm sure you're greatly appreciative of your ward's efforts in this. And I also thank the teachers who are behind the scene, who have toiled right through this particular year to bring about this success. So thank you. All of us here are parents, and all of us here are also teachers. What I'm going to do over the next 30-40 minutes is to assemble my thoughts by way of a number of slides, maybe about 20-25 slides. I would run it through, and I have asked Tamir to prompt me if I'm going overboard on my time frame. What's happening here is future captains puts a lot of effort in trying to orient and counsel the kids who are getting ready for the senior school education as much as the post-secondary education. They have been doing an excellent job. I have tracked the kind of services that they have been providing to college counseling. And I should say that I'm deeply appreciative of their efforts. During this lockdown period, the uncertainty has brought forward the kind of suspicion we have on one another. And I would like to focus on the importance of mutual trust and respect. That is the only way to take this education forward. And all this time when we are talking about education, one big piece in the puzzle that we miss is the parent and the role of the parent in bringing all of this together. Without the parent, I'm afraid nothing can happen. And while I'm talking about the parent, there is a lot of things that happen behind the scene. The silent unsung heroes, I would say here, are the teachers that are toiling around at the background. As much as they are teachers, they are also parents and they are also homemakers. And the kind of effort that they put through to make it happen is phenomenal. I'm also going to say that hats off to the children, because in a short span of time, they're getting used to this quick and rapid change. And although we tend to undervalue what they do, unless they get readied for this particular change, the outcome that is usually measured as the children's learning and the engagement is missed. So we will have to thank every single element here. See, the first organic element is the student, topmost, because he's the beneficiary here. The second, I would say, would be the parent, and the third, I would say, would be the teacher. If I may be permitted to share the screen, Tamir, I would like to start on it.
Yes, you are permitted, sir. You already have the co-host permission. You can go ahead.
So I think it just went on to the last one. Okay. Yeah. So I've just borrowed this interesting meme from the internet. So one thing that we can do is we can laugh at somebody else's expense, and there is a lot of sarcasm and wit that is available. One thing that I pray to all of you is that do not forget to stay happy and be joyous in life through these difficult times. So I'm just going to look at coping with online education. Was online education already there? Yeah, it is. It was already there. But what it brings about to all of us. So if you look at the definition, online education is a flexible delivery system that usually takes place via the internet. So this is the broad term. So I just borrowed this term from the encyclopedia. Does it realize the purpose? What is the purpose of online education? If online education's purpose is to make things easy, of course, it makes a lot of things easy. It comes to you at doorstep, at your convenience. It is flexible. It brings about a plethora of platforms to choose from. It is not about the paucity of information. Now it is your ability to cull information. There is an information overload as much as there's so much of information available. You can find almost anything with the Google Baba now, and the internet opening up. The students are in a position to pick up and learn stuff which was otherwise very difficult maybe 2 decades back. And when we are talking about this online education, we are also talking about prepping the students for the future. And we would harp about the new skills for the new age or the new normal. So that is the much cliched term here. We would be looking at that. So all these changes are happening at a tearing pace. It's enormously fast. And at a snap of a finger, we see that the information is actually doubling. See, when we were students, we know that from history, information doubled possibly in about 70 to 80 days. And then information doubling time dropped to about 30 days. And when I was doing research, it was about 14 days. And the fastest was the area of medical sciences and life sciences. So now information seems to be doubling every 11 days. It is enormously fast, which means that the chunks of information that is available to you is enormous. And all of this happens in a volatile, uncertain, complex and confusing and ambiguous world. So we are looking at what we would again call a VUCA environment. What are these skills that we are actually talking about? So these are the things that I would be looking at. And then we will move on to see see if there is this future and are we worried about this future and what is our role. Especially the focus would be on parents and see what parents have as a role to play. Beyond that, we would go ahead and try and answer some of the questions. The questions that you're posting are really, really thought provoking. And I am very certain that I will not have the answers for every single question that you have. As much as you are a learner, I'm also a learner. And I'm here to share my learning with all of you. But at the end of this particular discussion, I would like to take away as much as you are taking away from this particular group. Let us look at some of the skill sets. First is for a new normal lifelong learner. Now, the terminology is that all of us are lifelong learners. You need to look at foundation literacy. The foundation literacy, now it's not just numeracy, literacy, the maths and sciences and English. It is beyond that. It is language, number, concept, content, context, money. The new terminology now is financial literacy. So this is also included in the current jargon of what the children need to pick up. So of course, the social, emotional, and cultural awareness, they have to stay. There is no wishing them away. There needs to be a global awareness. This is very, very important because we are all connected. And now it says that the entire world is just a student bench. It is as much as the connection that is possible now. Of course, the critical thinking, the problem solving, the creativity, the curiosity, the communication, the collaboration, the literacy on media, technology, and information, the leadership, the initiative and productivity, possibly research and innovation, entrepreneurship. Of course, all of this comes with the fundamental skills such as acceptance, tolerance, forbearance, say flexibility, perseverance, resilience, so situational intelligence, skill transference, and all of this are going towards adaptability. How are we being impacted? Are we being impacted by choices? So are we being impacted by, say, a number of courses being bombarded? Is everything open to us? Can we pick up and choose? Is everything available online? And all of this is absolutely massive. I'm talking about the MOOC, the massive, see, open online courses that are available now, which is connecting the entire world. Look at that. This is a picture that I borrowed. You can look at the picture. You'll see this is a 2012 picture. Even as early as 2012, this was massive. And now this is in the context of the US tertiary education landscape. But the same thing is now available plenty for schools as well. And it also allows the children to pick and choose the programs of their choice and their desires. So there is enormous funding coming in from the private players. Of course, some of it is charged. You can see that the universities are in it, the non-profit world is in it, the venture capitalists are in it, and other organizations of learning are in it. And it encompasses almost every single aspect of learning. Now the network is simply crazy. It's so much of material available online. That is what is in store for all of us. That's what online education looks like for a child that graduates from school and move on. Of course, a lot of this is also available for the high school and the senior school students. But the same might not be true for the little ones. Our problem now is to address things that are going right and going wrong in school education, and then see what the opportunities are for tertiary education. The earlier picture, that's a big wow. So it's amazing that there is so much in it and that there is so much more. But what about our kids? What about us? So us, I mean the people who are shaping the environment of school education. School education does not mean what happens at school. It also means what happens at home. The child is at school, wakeful hours about 6.5 to 7 hours of his wakeful hours are spent at school. Another 14 hours, I would say now, because the children don't sleep 6, 7 hours, they sleep for less than that because of the screen time. Now, the challenges are there are so many spaces that are available to us beyond the school. The kids extend the school to home now. That's the reality. So do you see some of it? So I'm just borrowing some of this from whatever was available. I just did a random check this morning to see who are these guys, who are these major players who do online. This is all available in the Indian education landscape. There are plenty more. So I just thought I would pull in some of it for you to see. This starts at kindergarten. This starts at class 1, goes on till class 12. There is plenty of material available for school kids. And all of this did not happen after the COVID started. These things were available a lot earlier. And if you had noticed, so there is a sudden push by the MHRD, the sudden push by everybody to limit the screen time. So what has been the screen time prior to COVID? I mean, see, did the children spend time at home not looking at any screen? So did they not take hold of their joysticks and play computer games? Did they not watch TV? Did they not send emails or stuff like that? Did they not toy with their social media platforms and WhatsApp? So sadly, the kids have been exposed to screen time, not for half an hour, 1 hour, as the MHRD recommends to the schools. So for about 6 hours, 8 hours in a day. I mean, that has been the reality. So we can simply ignore that as a fact and say that the schools are putting a load of an additional 2 hours, 3 hours on the screen time. Of course, it's bad. So there is no question that the schools are also contributing to this extra screen time. But what is the trade-off? The trade-off is that this screen time is available for the children to learn and engage and make a meaningful contribution to their own growth and development. And when it comes to gaming, when it comes to WhatsApp, when it comes to other screen time such as TV, so it could be entertainment, it could be stress busting, it could be socializing. So I can't trivialize one and say the other one is better. Of course, please understand that it was already there. Look at this. I'm just going to ask you to evaluate your own answers later and save up your comments, because the next particular slide is very, very impressive. And these are the courses offered by the government of India. So why would they offer so many courses and also say that it's bad to put the kids right in front of the screen? So think about it, because I'm just going to say, so say no to online classes. That's what it looks like now, but that cannot be the reality. I'm really sorry that we are taking a dig at the policymakers, but I am certain that they have a very good reason to do so. But with all of this available, with the multiple platforms available for parents to choose from, for kids to choose from, so there are several players. I mean, see, the big names are these people like the Baijus and the Akash and a whole bunch of these people who are available. So what are they doing? They are replacing what can possibly happen at school. I'm just saying replacing under quotes, because schools cannot be replaced. We will go to that a little later. So let us look at what is happening. This is the real environment for all of us, guys, and we know about it. It's only that I'm sharing it So for us to reiterate and ensure that we are on track. And then what happens? So this is what the Times of India says, that how to cope with screen stress. So this is from Times of India. So you would have seen this. So it says that even for the little ones, so there is this particular screen time. Do you think that it is actually the screen time that the children spend in front of a digital classroom? I'm sorry, because there are several things that's done. See, I have a grand niece that has to be fed, so I have to put her on my lap. She's about 2 years old, and then I will have to feed her in front of a TV, always in front of a TV. So that's the little one for you. I mean, she's hardly two. So these are the realities that are shaping the home environments now. We are not even talking about learning online. So what is the real picture? Now, let us say if we need to use distance learning, if we need to ensure that there is educational continuity, this happens across the globe now. Please understand that we are not talking about equity and access. Equity and access to education. So this is data coming from the UNESCO. It says that about 82.6 crore students are kept out of the classroom because they do not have an access to a household computer. We are lucky. We are having this meeting online. So we have an access to facilities. The problem of plenty is what is affecting us. We are not even worried about these many children. So about half the total number of children who go to school do not have an access to computers. I mean, are we talking about this at all? Sadly, we are not. What are we going to do for these children when online education takes over? I'm equally clueless. So because I'm as much clueless as you are, I'm also trying to work to see if the children can be supported in some way that do not have an access to computers. We will be using TVs. We will be using community broadcast. You know that happened in Chhattisgarh, in certain towns where they use the radio to broadcast information. This is audio tracks that go in. So the TV now has multiple channels that offer education to children. Some of it comes with a price, some of it is free. I mean, see, thankfully for these children who do not have an access, who do not have resources to do, this is the only way forward. 43%, about 70.6 crores have no internet at home. Forget about technology, no internet at home. That's also. So what do we achieve online? For all of us that have online, what do we achieve? So the kids are left hanging. This is from the post-COVID setup from a public school scenario in the US. So this says it all. We are clueless at this point in time. We have multiple recommendations and suggestions. We are trying to learn. We are experimenting to some extent, and this experimenting is also costing us. So we are not future-proofed completely. So we are not future-ready completely, although that is desirable. I would say that these 3-4 months, you have become excellent learners. You have picked up stuff that you never even imagined you would pick up. So the necessity has become the proverbial mother of invention or innovation. So that has happened at this point in time for all of you, dear parents, for me as well. So I have learned to engage, learn to adapt to these technologies, pick up new strings for learning, understand more and more platforms that are made available for students. So train teachers, train myself. That's how this goes. So if we believe that we are lifelong learners, see, that's what we always do. Let us reflect what happens behind the scenes. So the impact. So we are talking about the impact of online education, right? So when we are talking about the impact of online education, let us also look at, so what happens behind the scene? Who are these people behind the scene? See, what mindsets function behind the scene? So the first question is, what are the schools up to? So this happens in your mind, right? What are the schools up to? How would the schools prep themselves to get ready to teach our kids? So all the schools across the world, so where the countries have not opened up the platforms for learning and public schooling systems are not open, are struggling. See, why are they struggling? They are struggling because they are not able to practice a good annual academic calendar. They are not able to look at the psychosocial dimension of the children's growth and development. They are only looking to tease the cognitive element and asking for huge support from communities and families in order that the children learn. To top it, the schools have enormous budget cuts. The budget cuts are because of the inability, sadly, the inability of several parents to have the same level of affordability and pay the fees has put a load on the schools to have budget cuts. The online education also has a tremendous load on the schools to get prepped, the bandwidth for internet, the technology to be made available to the teachers, the investment on this technology, shifting all the academic calendars. So continuously reworking on the budgets with quick changes based on what the government decides from time to time. So prepping for an environment post-COVID, which looks like it is going to be blended with fewer number of children coming to the school. All the support structures which the school was providing, like lunch, transport, see operation of very many maintenance and support structures, all of this have taken a beating. The schools are trying to balance these as much as companies are trying to balance, because if you take school as an entity, it is just like another organization, just like the organization that you work. We would also have multiple employees, and these employees have to be paid for. See, all these pays have taken the beating because of the economic meltdown, and there are salary cuts, there are squeezes, tight squeezes, and all of us face that at different levels. Believe me, see, the kind of work that is happening behind the scene placed by the teachers, see, cannot be explained. I mean, say, hats off to the teachers for putting at least double their efforts. I mean, say, a statistics that says that the efforts of the teachers have gone up from what was normal to about 6 times normal, which means that at the minimum, the teacher is working twice. At the maximum, the teacher is working 6 times. So when it comes to the parents, I would say minimum you're working is something like 200 times. So you're trying to balance everything as a housemaker, so provide opportunities for the kids to learn, so making sure that you are there all the time, feeding different schedules, breakfast, lunch, brunch, snacks, and dinner. See, balancing your workspace and environment, cutting down on your sleep, going crazy all over the day. So that's amazing. So these are the things that are happening at the back. So, boy, I mean, I'm just, what the heck are these teachers doing? These teachers are spending so much of time for preparation. So they were not ready. Before COVID, all these teachers were not approved for COVID lockdown times. So they started learning. They started learning very quickly. A teacher who is touching 60, very difficult for her to grab the sense of technology, but she has learned. So all the teachers have learned so much, and then what they bring on to the table for learning is that I pick up a lot of strings, because the collective learning of all the teachers, we are closing in on about 400 teachers of at least 6 hours of planning time a day after their prep time for the classes and the actual transaction time. So you can understand 6 hours a day, 400 teachers is at least 2,400 collective hours every single day. So this is amazingly large for us to learn. The more they collaborate, the more they learn. And I'm saying that I saw a couple of questions when it talked about the independence in learning, the how to make somebody an independent learner. I would say that please share. So let all of us learn collectively. That's a different context. I would say that this is what the teachers actually do behind the scene. They are putting in a lot of effort for these to be converted. They are preparing material. So they are preparing repositories. All of this is also happening behind the scene. Why would the school not consider our working time? Wow. So I hear this all the time saying that, sir, what has happened is because of this lockdown, the routines have been messed up. The children wake up a little late. So we have to balance our times and get ready with all our work before we give the space or the equipment or the device to our children. So yes, this is a very important question and it's a pain point for the parents. And this is something that we have learned over these months, and we are trying to work with the parents to support their working hours as well. I can't handle this multitasking. So this is something that the parents have already said, sir, it's killing me. So as much as it's killing a parent, it's also killing a teacher, and it's killing every single person in this particular exercise. So this is what you do. Go ahead and behind the scene, you just say that please wake up, get ready, brush your teeth, so wear proper, get properly attired, sit in a place where you have the wall, do not let people walk behind you, a whole bunch of things that you go ahead and say. And then people fight for the screen time. It's my screen time. So I need to use this computer. So the technology is not available. And okay, I'm not ready to share. If there are siblings, they are not ready to share. So these are challenges which are very, very real, and it is what is impacting the home front. Okay, so there are other issues. So interestingly, I had a discussion with other school heads, and one of the teachers apparently had complained that, so she suspected that a father was continuously stalking her because she saw him on the screen every time. And this is funny, it need not be true, but it's a perception. I'm saying that we have plenty of perceptions that are impacting our own sense of well-being, see, during this lockdown, and it is impacting our mental health. Okay. So will I see my girlfriend on screen? So this is what a boy would possibly be thinking about. Now, so he might not see his girlfriend on real time. So, and then, oh my God. So I've been using so much of screen time that there are certain days I have about 6-7 meetings. So it's as if my eyes pop out. So, it gets seriously strained because of the screen time. Am I being watched all the time? Because the child feels that the parent is on the back. He feels that there is another person sitting and watching the class, the teacher watching. So all the time that so there is a load on this particular child. Okay, the teacher says, "Oh my God, this prep time is actually killing me." The parent says that too. So the parent says that in a different way because she has to prepare for not just the class but for half a dozen other things at home. And then the quintessential question that all of us would ask, I mean, can we afford this kind of it? Because I'm not getting the right kind of money. I have to place money on my bandwidth, on the internet cost, the connectivity cost. Where is all this money coming from? And of course, do I need to look good on screen? And then do I get to chat with my friends? You understand? These are the kind of questions. I mean, this is how the online education is actually impacting us at a very fundamental level. What are the biggest game changers here? The biggest game changers, I'm sorry, the mutual trust and respect that we had for each other is lost. So I is replacing we more and more. So it's like I, me, myself. I'm saying this not for parents or teachers, for everybody. I'm just saying that this is what is happening. And I am resistant to change. I mean, that's also killing me now. And please, all of us need to understand that in this particular exercise, we are servicing the child. The child needs to be placed right on top of everything else. Checking in on what our kids are doing online isn't helicoptering. It's called parenting now. So this is the new norm, and it's a new quote online. So what's the future looking like? You can say that the online education is making everything convenient, flexible, so you can set your own pace. Maybe the costs are lower. We don't really know that. So it gets to be more and more learner centric. There are several choices, alternates exist. So we are in a position to liberalize education because it's more like a supermarket kind. So a lot of things happen there. And the cliche new normal, okay, we see, are we looking at the enormity of the COVID impact? What happens post-COVID? So that's something that we need to be talking about. So is it going to be goodbye COVID or Tata for now? So the TTFN is Tata for now, which means that we just say, okay, bye. So, and we are afraid that COVID is going to hit us back. So these are all the questions that we have in our head. So I would say that I need to be future proof. That's a desire. The world we live in has embraced technology. And of course, we need to do that too. So we will have to accommodate these changes, and we need to be ready to embrace this change. And what is the alternate reality? The alternate reality is that, the wife would say, when will this guy, the husband, get off my face? So is it so very weird to work from home? I'm just asking this question. It's getting crazy because they say that now a psychiatrist, family counselor group says that the number of patients that these guys see have gone up from 2-3 a day to about 18-20 a day. And all of this is happening online too. So you can assume that the mental health is taking a beating. So you would say that I just want this guy to go off to school. I can't leave him behind unattended, especially when the blended classroom situation is happening. These are your worries. So if you're looking at how the future is going to look, you have a rosy picture on one side and you have the alternate reality on one side. So which reality is going to be the true reality? You need to work it out. See, what is this particular school they're talking about? It seems to be all over the place, which means that there is a community part of the school, there is a school part of the school, there is a home part of the school. So when we are talking about blended education, all of this will constitute a school. So what are these guys talking about? Because school space seems to be continuously changing. Okay, so I get what I need online. Why do I need the school? So that's another question that you might want to ask, because that's what the future looks like. But please understand, all this online education, everything can give you everything to do with the cognitive aspects, the scholastic elements, to look at the functionality of the foundation programs of literacy and numeracy and science, but not the psychosocial dimension. They will not help you to shape the children's emotions, the moral and spiritual spaces, the social spaces. See, the trade-off is enormously large, and that's why colleges are an integral part of the community building. And let us not forget this, because schools are here to stay. Colleges are here to stay. Adult education might change, but not the children's education. Children's education is primarily dependent upon developmental milestones. These milestones move from cognition to metacognition. Only when the child is about 18, 19, he gets all the skills that he needs for adult life. And until then, a social structure like a school, which gives multiple experiences, is absolutely essential. And unfortunately, the online education is taking that away. This is what actually happens. So everybody gets ready for the school, so for work, and then each of you go and sit in one place, and you can't even kiss one another bye for now. So because of the social distancing. So in all of this, what happens is that the teacher gets usually discounted. So I would like that we look at the teachers very empathetically. I'm saying that the teacher is also the parent is at home. So internet cannot do all this stuff because the question of cybersecurity comes in. What if somebody, see, there is something called an online grooming. Okay, so this grooming is not about getting prepared. It is about an adult trying to woo a youngster into believing that she has certain skills for adult life. And therefore, the abuse and other challenges start. Pornography, say, voyeurism, so unnecessary glamour, so adult entertainment, the whole of these open up. Be very, very careful because so see what happens in the online spaces are very, very restrictive in nature, and you cannot replicate a school-like environment. What we want the parents to do here is to look at, say, forming more and more family clusters. So these are the things that you would be looking at for a school. Okay. So annual calendar will change, the holidays will change, entry and exit rules will change, timings will be staggered, surveillance will increase, there will be personal safety policies, fewer students will be there in the class, there will be shifts. So transport operations and meal operations might change, distance learning operations might open up more and more. So there will be fewer teachers, of course, blended learning. So I'm also going to ask, so is it a great choice? So what will happen if this online continues over a long run? So I put that question, what about equity in access? What about availability of resources? What about technology failure? What about costs? What about the trade-off? Okay, so what about mental health issues? What about families? I mean, their complete access to internet. What about the overlaps? So your working time overlaps with the school study time. Somebody's eating time overlaps with their working time. So everybody needs to share the space. There is cacophony and noise. This is a real problem. So, and what happens? See, in a post-COVID, so a post-COVID setup, see, maybe the COVID is not here to stay. So the COVID-like environment is going away. Now, what happens after that? What could be in store in the future? Let us say that there is a very poor policy and there is a lot of disruption. Then what happens? There is no pay for the teachers. Then what happens? This is one scenario. That's scenario number one. A scenario number two, so everybody changes their perception. You get to become, say, more and more open. And see, there are professionals who are coming into the platform to become what do you call the learning agents. So these learning agents are in a position, they're not necessarily professional teachers, but they become learning agents, agents for education. So more and more, see, accountability, say, within a formal education gets less and less, and non-formal education becomes more and more. These are all possibilities for the future. That's how online education looks like, and education as an overall space also looks like. So now if there is more and more and more and more of proliferation, what will happen? So increasing use of learning analytics. Now you are only trying to create models for more and more online learning. Now, if there is new role for the educator, he has to only be a part-time educator more and more. The parent becomes a part-time educator himself. The student himself becomes his own educator because of his independent learning styles and what is available in the market. So you have very many possibilities emerging in the future, and that is in store for education. Now, what you may want to do, I'm just asking, see, me as a parent, what do I want to do? So I would like to examine the readiness and choose the most relevant tools. I want to be absolutely careful about data privacy and data security. I need to address behavioral challenges in myself and my children because they don't get the opportunity to socially or emotionally engage as much. So parents, you may also note that there are quarrels and fights that the children see now at home. They are witness to little small quarrels, and sometimes so they are exposed to some level of domestic abuse too. And these children have come forward, and my own school's psychological counselor now on an average gets about 2 or 3 calls, maybe from a same cluster of students over a period of time for counseling. The children are worried that the parents are fighting more and more. So these are issues that are impacting the mental health. I'm not worried as an educator about the children's ability to cognitively move on to the next class level as much as I'm worried about their mental health and their well-being. Please bear in mind that this is more important than your children picking up math and science, because this is going to make them very good citizens and make them say full of empathy, love, and care later. So please be very, very watchful, and you need to make changes, big changes here. So you need to have studies. See, you need to have plans for this engagement. There needs to be rules for this engagement, and more and more you need to create family clusters. Only with family clusters, what I'm trying to say is that you have your friends. Make sure that you have casual chats with these friends. You have real life experiences. Take those real life experiences and blend it with what happens in the school. These real life experiences can be shared with your neighbors, can be shared with somebody that lives in the community. Maybe it's online, but it gives enough opportunity for families to connect, and it also gives enough opportunities for children to connect. Maybe not the same age group at different age groups, but it creates several possibilities to connect. And that's how these family clusters are essentially engaging to be social structures now, small social structures that are contributing to the social and emotional well-being of children. And it is hugely important that parents may want to do this as a part of their routines. So this is as much as I would like to share with you. So there is plenty more. We can go on with this discussion forever and ever, but I would like that we also share some of our thoughts over Q&A. See, am I good to stop, Tamil, or you would like that I extend this conversation?
Yeah, you have any final points? I think we can take a couple of more minutes, sir.
Okay, so see, what has happened now is the I was talking about the mutual trust and respect. So each of us form an essential part of the community. See, what has happened now is because of the stress that all of us are going through by way of economic meltdown, by way of making huge adjustments at the family. So the primary reason being, see, the fear of, say, the unknown future. So all of us worry endlessly about what is going to happen in the future. Yes, it is good for us to set plans, have enough clearances for ourselves and our families. But unfortunately, we are in an environment where we need to figure out pinch hitting solutions. We need to bring about optimizing our costs. We need to cut down, say, our expenses all around. We need to be more frugal and very, very careful about what we do. So we need to protect the fundamental interests of the family first. So self, family, immediate community, and then an extended community. This is how all of us are wired now, and I'm no exception. Nobody is an exception. And that is the primary reason for the slipping of mutual trust and respect. I would say that, see, please believe that everybody is going through some amount of trouble. See, a person who might be well off with resources might have a health issue. So somebody who does not have anything at all might be a very happy individual. So the situations change. The future is definitely going to be better than what it is now. The only thing that would help us here is our sense of self-worth and our sense of well-being. Nobody has the right, the government does not have the right, the media does not have the right, nobody has the right to put you through the suffering that you're going through. So some of what happens is a pain. Some of what you do becomes the suffering. And let us not go through the suffering. So we will have to endure that pain, and we will endure with a smile, and we will endure it with laughter, and we would endure it with a lot of patience. So let there be peace in all of this, and it's easily said than done. But I'm trying to protect this by huge reflection and inclusion. I certainly feel that my housemates' contribution to the community is equally important. And this young lady is not able to come for work because she lives far away and there is no public transport system. What would this family do? We need to support such families. To show that we also care for them. All of us make these contributions. So children have taken up crowdfunding to support community causes. So all of us believe that any small contribution to making somebody's life better, so is showing concern and care for them. So the trust is, I trust the parents in their ability to do things and care for their children. The parents trust the teachers. This trust should not slip. I respect you as a fellow human being, as a fellow teacher. You respect the teacher as a fellow human being and a parent. See, all of us are in it together. And the beneficiary, see, that will get the optimum out of our effort is the student. And we will have to place the student on top of all of this exercise and believe that we are contributing to his development and purpose in life. So, I mean, that is my closing statement. And thank you, folks. It has been wonderful to share my ideas and thoughts. And I would be happy to take questions.
All right. Sir, what can I say? It's like, wow. I mean, that's all I can say. It was just wow. And I can see actually the comments are flowing in, and almost everybody's resonating the thoughts that I think what you gave us is a real good reality check on me as a parent, how I should behave and what I should be cognizant about, and how I should not let go of the values that the age old values of mutual trust and respect for fellow human beings. And there's no us versus them. It's all of us are in this together. And I think we have to embrace this with a smile and with a lot of courage, and very importantly with us, with happiness, of course, because none of this we expected. These things came upon us, and I'm sure parents who have been part of the session, this could be a game changer for them. I'm sure most of them will start reflecting on the points that you have put forward. Okay, so I'm just going to take it forward with the Q&A. I'm going to start with one question, and then probably I'll open up the floor for questions from the parents directly. Just first question that really caught my eye is how to make the students listen to online videos in a focused manner, and at the same time how to prevent them from getting addicted to digital media. So your question on that, your answer on that, Doctor.
Okay, so see, the first is that how to not make them addicted, and see how to make them engaged.
How to make them focused on online videos, and how to not prevent them from getting addicted to digital media.
Okay, see, I think I shared this the last time. See, my attention span is about 8 seconds. Okay, so there is no way I can draw anybody's attention beyond 8 seconds. That's my attention span, because I hear a splatter of rain somewhere. So there is a whiff of cold air gushing into my room. So all these little small experiences take me away from what I'm doing. So at the best, we can hope that there is enough content, and the content is interesting for the child to engage. See, if I'm making it drab and monotonous, there is no way that the learner is going to engage in this particular. If I have to make the video interesting, I need to appeal to his senses. I would say that my own experience as a teacher, different age groups respond to different cues. So the younger ones respond to stories. So the younger ones respond to fantasy. So the element of what you have, I can't be putting facts and figures before the little ones. So I need to tell a story. One thing that worked like magic for us was a cascade storyline, which means that every single person, every single child becomes a part of the storytelling. So they shape their own story at the start, and we start recording the story. So the first, say, if you say that once upon a time there lived a king, and you also already give a plot that there is a king, there is a queen, so there is this dragon, there is this princess that the prince wants to marry, then there is this villain, there is this ghost. So you give the storyline to them and they'll form their own stories. But the first person gets to say the first line, the second person gets to say the second line, and so on and so forth, because it goes round and round, because nobody's story becomes a story, because the story migrates from one person's story to another person's story. And this worked magic. So because you have a new storyline, because everybody wants to migrate the story into their own story, but because they get a chance to speak about only one line, so they don't get to close the story. So you need to make such attempts. I mean, see, it is thinking out of the box. So colors, yes, plenty of colors, plenty of visual experiences. So moving on from the two-dimensional to the three-dimensional, moving on from the let us say virtual, pictorial and videographic landscape to augmented and virtual realities. So these are all things which are possible for the children, but there is nothing like pinning your hopes on a 30 minutes undivided attention for the child. So it is not going to be possible. The more engaging they are, it means that you have juicy element in your videos to help. When it comes to the middle school children look at the surprise element. So what is the surprise element? So some statements which are not completed, which provides enormous curiosity. We try to work this through with silly ideas. So the silly ideas are some of these ideas that will only promote creative tension, but it sounds illogical. Let us say that you would want to how to use a glass hammer. So it's an interesting thought. Or how to use an inflatable dartboard, or how do you use a white chalk piece on a whiteboard. So these are open-ended questions. They look seriously crazy, but then it starts creative tension. So you need to factor those elements among the middle school students. If I go to high school students, I would look at sarcasm and wit. I will make myself a joker most of the time. So I'll pretend that I'm dumb, and then I will let the children go one up on me. I mean, and the end of the class, clearly tell them that you're only having a dig. So sarcasm and wit really helps. So you need to know where you're positioning it before you venture on to this exercise. There is no one size fits all. So this is the first part. The second part, you talked about addiction, right?
Yeah.
Please come again. So I got lost in my thought.
No,
what is the second part of the...
how do we prevent them from getting addicted to digital media?
Okay, see, there is so much of juicy stuff in the digital media. So one which has opened up the possibility of virtual socializing has been your online social media platforms. So now even to go next door and say a hi is no more in, because from one end of the class to another end of the class, messages are exchanged. If you permit that inside the classroom. So you would see somebody bending down. It appears that they are having a look at their own groin and laughing. Maybe they are hiding a small message. I mean, this is what is happening with respect to media. There is no way. I'm telling you, there is no way you can arrest it, because so you are the ones that have put this into the child's lap. So I'm just saying that I started this because when my child grew up, I mean, when she was just about 2, she had the hang of the Georgia Public Television. At that point in time, I was in US, and you had the PB&J order, you had the Barney, you had the Teletubbies, you had the Sesame Street, a whole bunch of it, all of it, Reader Rabbit, a whole bunch of it was available online, and we readily put that on their lap. We were unmindful of the consequences that they got hooked on. These kids got hooked on to it pretty early in life. So unless there is a proverbial ban on all of these gadgets, there is no way you can move the children out. And look at a situation like all the time I'm inside my home, I don't have anything else to do. See, I have pent up energy. I am this adolescent, my testosterone pumps, and then I'm extremely aggressive. And all that I have to do is to sit and watch television or help my mom with household chores. That doesn't work. So I take my joystick and I go this gory game where I start shooting people. So see, we have created an environment, unfortunately, which is not conducive to give up anything online. So unless we migrate back, I mean, that's the reason I'm saying that schools are important. It takes the children away from screen time. It takes the children away from their addictions to screen. So at least for their 8 hours, 9 hours, when they move from home to school, there are other things that the children think about. So bear that in mind. You need to give them so many activities at home to take them away from the screen. Unfortunately, it's not possible. I watch 1.5 movies every single day. Okay, on top of anything and everything that I do. So even if I have 7 video calls a day, at least 8 hours of meetings, I still need to see this 1.5 movies every day. And I mean, this is 5 movies of 15 minutes each. So I don't even have the sense to sit in front of a TV to look at one movie. So see, I'm a scatterbrain. I mean, if I'm a scatterbrain at 55, imagine what happens to the children when they're about 7, 8 to 15, 16. We have lost the game. We have lost the game. I'm sorry. We need to collectively think of something magical and maybe burn all the gadgets, and then forget about online education for all of this not to happen.
Okay. Well, I think that was the very direct answer that you just gave. I think, yeah, we all have to bite that and live with it. So just a very interesting question that came up was, without proper testing mechanism, how do we ensure that the child is tested correctly or evaluated correctly, assessed correctly?
See, again, see, let us say that the assessments and evaluations we are talking, I mean, see, let me put it to context. I believe this question is directed towards the tests that are happening online. See, am I right in making that assumption? Because if you are thinking of something else and I'm giving a different answer, it doesn't work. So is that right? So is that the context in which you asked the question?
Yeah, basically it's about how do we assess correctly, because now that
see when you say evaluation, it becomes something different. Evaluation means also valuing. So I'm just making an assumption that you're talking about tests and assessments.
Tests and assessments, yes, sir. That's what we
are. Yeah. See, the question now is, if you trust my intelligence on setting up evaluations. I'm talking about myself as an example as a teacher. So I would be, if I'm doing it the conventional way, so there is a conventional way. I put questions and I decide what I want to do. I test the child in at least 15 different formats. I would say a pen on paper, even a pen on paper could be multiple choice. So a multiple choice can be true or false, match the following, a semantic differential, which is all objective. So easy to grab and easy to do. Then I give a thought type and I give a narrative style, and I'm giving open-ended questions. I'm asking them to do pair work. I'm asking them to do projects. I'm asking them to do vivas. I'm asking them to give a presentation. I'm asking them to flip the learning, come back with questions. So there are multiple ways that we have been assessing the children. What makes you believe that these are not tested? So all of this is tested. Only thing is that, see, the transference skills, whether I'm able to transfer the skills to an online platform, there I need to be techno savvy. So I was telling you that there are multiple platforms available now which will permit assessment online. If we are talking about assessments online, so I use the intelligence that I had acquired over the last 30, 40 years of testing and working with the children, and put that in the context of the online education. Believe me, it is not that these things are not tested. These are tested. Only thing is that their applicability to online templates are being experimented. We are continuously experimenting. See, my bandwidth of setting the analytical tool with the artificial intelligence to check the child's understanding is limited. I will have to use somebody's skill sets, present that artificial intelligence with the algorithms and the logic for the computer to map the child's learning. So there, I might not have the right kind of the skill sets. But if I were to ask a particular question, I know what question needs to be asked for me to get a grip of the child's ability to transfer the knowledge to understanding to wisdom and then to application. So that the teacher already has, that the instructional leadership already has. What the instructional leadership might not have is the ability to analyze the skills online. Where there was a physical format or a template and it was laborious, online assessments and the computer aided assessments gives me the tool to establish analyticals very fast. There I do not have the bandwidth I'm learning about. And that's how every single teacher learns and every single school leader learns.
Right. Thank you, Doctor. So one more question is, in your opinion, when do you think the schools will reopen?
Okay, see, schools will reopen when the fear in the mind about the possibility of COVID impacting the next person is released. See, why I'm saying this, because this is a question. So it is like, what will God do tomorrow? If at all a God exists, and if at all he is in a happy frame of mind. So, so the question is, see, I believe that the way things move, if we find a cure or a cocktail of vaccines, so we gather that the epitopes for all those people that are biology parents, the virus is also quickly mutating, and then people are now looking at the option of what do you say, vaccine cocktails. So mixing 3 or 4 of that. So when all of this is available, the fear in your mind about COVID impacting your life will release. See, when we started the COVID lockdown, see, we were looking at a possible July start. It did not happen. Then we looked at an August start. That does not happen now. So maybe a September start for the college, unlikely again. So October start. So we are trying to push this based on the fear of the unknown. And that's what is actually impacting it. There is no answer for this, unfortunately. But I would say that if there is a condition, the condition is that the fear gets lifted from the head. The soon the fear gets lifted from the head, the soon the schools will reopen.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I'm just going to unmute the participants so that they can also ask some questions. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir, just a minute. Yeah. So now, sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir. I mean, now the audience. Yeah, sorry. Now the participants can also unmute themselves and ask questions if at all you want to.
Can you ask them to go by turns, because if three or four speak, then it's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. Let's wait for somebody to.
Good morning, sir.
Sir.
Yeah, kindly introduce yourself, sir.
Sir, I'm Firoz here.
Yes.
So you had a very a wonderful deliberation of all those
Sir.
with respect to the current situation. So that's really a sort of a thought-provoking for everyone who has attended this. And we all very well know that we may not immediately go back to the traditional ways of or conventional way of teaching technologies, and we are putting a lot of effort now on innovations, how we can get into the best possible ways. But that's always appreciable, and more efforts are needed in that space. However, I was thinking this thought all should be divided into two, sort of like we think of a future where we are going to depend on this particularly only online uh, education system, and one other way is we have hopes we will come back to that convention. So I would like to believe in a way we will. I have all the hopes we will come back. So once you try to restructure or drive the system whole towards such a futuristic way of remote classes, are we going to later face a real stumble or roadblocks? We bring back our children back to the normal way of education. Sir, I have that was one my question.
Yeah.
The other one was like we talked about the basic challenges. So this technology can be to any extent. We are also innovations and things are on in plate. So we have a lot of global collaboration can help us move forward in a very impressive way. But the thing is, if we have government regulations talking about screen time and challenges like that, are we trying to have putting our children more into sort of focus in their books? The already they have the textbooks and things, so we can ask them, okay, refer these books for this, give some directions, and reduce the time, and only for interactive part of it we will have some online video classes or online interaction that can reduce something like the screen time. That was a different part of it.
Okay.
So thank you. Looking forward to
so there are Mr. Feroz, there are two parts. One, say you're talking about say, are we being myopic in our futuristic estimate of continuing with online education? So the long and short of it was that are we myopic at this point in time? Yes, we are myopic. Okay, so we have only been thinking about the short-term and mid-term possibilities of this COVID impact, and therefore creating environments and situations which are looking to be more technology dependent. When I was talking, I said that why schools cannot be replaced? Because the social and emotional aspects of growth, the moral and spiritual aspects of growth are actually taken care of to a large extent in a social structure or a community space. See, the purpose of temples, the purpose of churches, the purpose of parks, the purpose of libraries, all of these were with a need to satisfy that social and community requirement. So when that is lifted, so we might not get the maximum benefits out of education. If you are asking me, is blended education here to stay? Yes, because we are making investments. COVID did not make this investment. Right, in 2002, investments were already in for a virtual landscape. When the World Wide Web was spaced by CERN, say it was already there. So the future was moving in this direction. So there was going to be an online space, and this is going to continue. There is no escape from that. The second part of the question was that, see, is the load on the child, especially when the government is putting bans on screen time, going to impact his learning, whether the interaction online can be restricted to meaningful interactions with teachers. The child can still look at textbooks. So this can happen with, to some extent, with senior classes. So one size does not fit all. So when you say that, see, what do I do with kindergarten children, where there is a clear note that the kindergarten children, it is not advisable to place them in front of a screen. So taking that as a cue, Mr. Feroz, would you stop the child's TV? Would you stop the child's, please tell me, because as a parent, you need to do that. So if I'm not able to do it, I was not able to do it in 1999 and 2000. Are you able to do it now? If you're able to do it now, we have an answer. So see, sadly, what happens is that the 6 hours of screen time that you have already placed in front of a child is ignored, and 30 minutes of screen time that the child has with the teacher is put to test. It is unfair. So see, whatever government says and does, the government, I put a slide which clearly said what the government does for free. So it is having a Swayam portal, and there are at least half a dozen channels where, see, the time for every single class goes on and on. So if you have an academic calendar and you say in a week's time you need to get on with these portions for the teacher is also put on load. So what about working 7 days a week? See, we will have 3 hours or 2 hours of class. So we will restrict the class. So screen time, we will work 365 days, no holidays, no nothing. So no Sundays, no breaks. We will do it every day, because they do television every day. They do online chats every day. So I think I've answered it, because I personally feel as an educator, the load on schools to restrict the screen time is unfair. I mean, this is my personal opinion, because other screen times nobody questions. Only the time where the productive engagement happens, everybody questions. Don't you feel it's unfair?
Thank you, sir. You exactly spot on, and I am really aligned to your those statements. I have, it's a choice altogether. 100% I agree to that. But to pacify the regulation,
Mr. Feroz, I'm extremely sorry. We want others also to participate. I request others to keep your questions short.
Yeah, sir.
Let's
Good
keep it to
afternoon.
question.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon. We are grateful as a parent to listen a speech like this. I am father of Yanish Adrian, who is doing 9th standard.
Yes,
sir, are
Mr.
you able to?
Yeah, we can hear you. Word.
Father of
Yeah, Yanish Adrian, 9th standard.
Yeah.
See, now the portions of CBSE syllabus has been reduced due to COVID.
Okay.
Will it be affected in higher studies? Because is it the basic, no?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll answer.
Yeah.
Okay. See, the answer is a direct yes. Because see, what happens is that the logic, it's not CBSE, the logic that MHRD or anybody uses is at every key stage. Let us say the key stages are kindergarten, so lower primary class 3, then class 5, class 8, class 10, and class 12. These are the stages, and the outcome is based on the learning history. So when the child migrates from kindergarten to class 1, he is supposed to have transferred some of the learning into his class 1. And when the child moves from class 1 to class 4, the same thing is true. So likewise with every single class, the assumption is the child brings with him the history of learning. Based on that, the portions have been reduced. So there is a logic behind it. Unfortunately, there is a gap. The gap is, see, till class 8, the Right to Education Act says that without pass or fail, a child migrates. and nobody is worried about the outcome. The only thing that as parents and as everyone policymakers we are worried about is moving the child from one class to the higher class. So why, please ask this question to all the parents. Why would India still resist to go for a universal benchmarking examination which happens at the end of 15 years, which is PISA? You please look at what PISA is about and what OECD countries have done, and why India is resisting it, and why several countries are resisting it, and what has been India's position on a global benchmarking evaluation. So if you look at it, you will know that we are far behind, because the first thing is not capacity building. The first thing is equity and access. So the government has a much bigger problem. Unless it allows for every single child to get an access to education, it cannot be talking about capacity building. See, government does not have a choice. So what government does in the space it is available to them is to make deliberate choices to balance capacity building and equity in access. So now they fully know that the situation post-COVID is not going to give them enough time to prepare, the student for content that is otherwise desired. Therefore, they have brought it down based on the assumption that the child carries certain things into the next class. So this is the logic. If you're asking the next part of the question, if you're asking me the logic will work, I will say the logic will not work in a situation, current situation in India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
It might work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, my name is Shivakumar. I have two questions for you. First of all, I would like to thank you for this insightful session. My questions are as follows. Question is, I have two sons studying in 9th and 10th. Recently, I think CBSE has reduced the syllabus by 30%. So my question on this is it going to affect the students moving forward in some way, because they are not going to be learning some topics? Second question is, in this situation, how do you think we can carry on with evaluation and assessment, etc., in an online platform?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, one I have already answered earlier. It is definitely going to affect. It's not that it's not going to affect, because if there is a universal benchmarking that is desirable as an outcome at a particular age. So let us say that the age is to go into college, and for a child to get into the college, he needs to carry some of the skills that he's picked up in school. So by not permitting him to get into the school, by not allowing him to learn, there is going to be a challenge. But I already told you the logic, because if a child is in class 9, it is assumed that he carries with him the learning from class 8. And whatever learning is assumed to be carried into 9 from class 8, he can afford to miss. That's what the MHRD with the help of NCRT has actually done. It might not work, unfortunately, in an Indian context. That is very, very clear. So the next thing is that, if you're asking me how he's going to carry this learning into the post-secondary education when assessments and evaluations are already hampered. I already told you during the discussion that we are in a space where we are completely aware what the assessments ought to be. It is not that the schools do not know how to carry out assessments. It is only that what online tools can be used to ensure that the assessments are in space. There are multiple ways these assessments are being approached now. And there is a good understanding to use the artificial intelligence to crack the analytics. So when we do that, what we call psychometric measurements of, or an index of the preparedness of the child will also come into play, where the child's readiness for a particular course or a particular area of expertise is already checked. So this is also happening in the current context, and I'm sure that the evaluations are going to get more and more rigorous, and is going to impact our own health and respect about what we believe needs to be taught in class 10 and class 12. So please prep the child based on what is universally needed, not what CBSE asks for, or not what, that is the minimum benchmark level. If you are going to say that I need to let my child pass with 40 marks, you have lost the game. If you are saying that let my child know 200% so that he can answer 100%, then you know you are in the game. So the choice is yours. Do not restrict the child's learning. So this is a framework of operation under these stressful times, but it is not ideal.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Sir, I think we'll have to, in interest of time, I think we'll have to wind up. I know there are a lot of questions that keeps coming, but then
Please, please curate all of that and send it to me. I'll answer it
Sure,
and
sir,
send
we'll
it
do
back.
that.
There's this lady who's been asking for a long time.
Sure, please. Yeah.
Meenu.
Yeah.
She's raising her hands.
No,
I think she has to
can speak on the
unmute.
mic.
You'll
She
have
can
to
speak on the
unmute.
mic.
You'll have to unmute.
My daughter is in mechanical engineering at SVNIT, and but since I have been mother, what do I feel? If basics are not clear, students would not be able to construct their ideas on their own. If syllabus is reduced, then will they find difficulties to do science or maths or any language aspects? And if exams are not decided, then how will it affect the next upcoming standard? Because definitely it will reduce the percentile of students. I feel so. So how can we prepare students in this way?
Okay. See, there is two parts to the answer. It's a very interesting question because I did not want to talk about it. You're forcing me to talk about it. See, if you are looking at a global capacity index, India, say, unfortunately, because there are certain pockets of Indian population which is way over the top of the world. So the Chinese and the Indians would top the diaspora of research in all countries. That's a very small percentage. So the global statistics says that now India is going to prepare unskilled and semi-skilled laborers for the world for the 21st century. By 2050, more than half of unskilled and semi-skilled laborers will be coming from India. So that gives a part of the answer, because we are not worried about building capacity. So it is a sorry state of affairs, because we are trying to balance our need to provide equity in access to education and capacity building in a very wrong and sorry way. And that is impacting the outcome. This is not something that I made up in my head. The second thing is that you said that your child is doing mechanical engineering. Now, see, what would be needed for her as a mechanical engineer of a 21st century? So she cannot be looking at the workspaces which were available maybe to your father who was a mechanical engineer. So the same thing is no more true. There are certain skill sets that are needed for her to navigate through a newly emergent role for her. We don't even know what that role is going to be. We don't know what half the jobs are going to be 5 years down, 10 years down. The traditional jobs are vanishing. See, my own job space has morphed into something enormously different over the last 20, 25 years. So it is very, very true that whatever your concerns are reflected in our inability to move on to capacity building. So you are very, very right. If I have to build those standards, I need to take independent exercise, small steps, baby steps. So I have control over a small environment, and within the environment, I can touch hearts. I can make changes. Let me make changes there. So let this change happen at every single doorstep. Let this change happen at every single school. If you take that lead, I'm sure, see, all of us will be innately capable to build that capacity that the world is looking for, not what the central government is looking for, or not what a job next door is looking for. So if I'm preparing them for the best of changes, anything less than that is good enough. So let me prepare them for that. And that change cannot come from policies, unfortunately. It will have to come from within, with every family and with every school and every teacher. So if that happens, the change happens.
Right. I think there's one question that I just wanted to, I thought it's also a very important question, that the children are not writing much these days. So what will happen to their motor skills and also the writing ability? Because myself, I'm going through that myself. I stopped writing, and today writing is a big difficult thing for me. So
I would like to add. I would like to add to that. How would it affect the board exams writing? Because they will suddenly get into board
Correct.
exams next year. So if they are not used to this writing over when they're studying online, would that impact their writing skills?
Yeah. See, two things here. It is very difficult to unlearn writing. Okay, so if the rudimentary load of writing has been given to the child will continue to write unless he has motor challenges. So, what I have asked my teachers to train the children to do is take, see, continue to doodle on a paper. So, continue to write as you record. So, you can see that this is always in my hand, and I continue to write even if I am engaging, because this becomes an involuntary exercise. So it's like a second task which is taken up as I speak or say something or record. So you need to promote. So writing is extremely important. It is not a particular skill which has to be translated in examinations. Maybe by the time that the child graduates and comes to this, there is no particular need for writing. But the fine motor skills that are associated with writing, so cannot be given away that easily. Therefore, so there is a need for a child to pick up. The only challenge that I foresee here is the speed at which the child is able to write. And I need to do that over practice. So unless I give this practice continuously, which means that I need to devote a percentage of his time on classwork and assignment activity and also speed writing. So we will have to do speed writing to check whether he's able to complete this task. So in a situation which is getting more and more online, you need to have a separate focus on writing for the skill to stay alive. And writing does not stay alive for writing examinations alone.
Perfect
Right.
answer. In fact, even I have a habit. Whenever I attend any online classes, I'm taking notes. I don't want to miss out anything that could be relevant. Yeah, taking notes would also help the students when they're listening to the teachers. Yeah, good.
Right.
Sir, I would like to say something. Can I add? This is Mahalakshmi from Mysore.
Okay, go
If
ahead.
I'm audible enough.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sir, I see that many parents have the question that we are waiting for the schools to open. My question here is, are you ready to send your child to school if the schools reopen? Because we are all facing this distressful time. And when it comes about writing, they have said that the speed of the child may get affected if they are not regularly in practice of writing. Not just being a parent, I'm also a teacher. So what I would like to suggest is, when a child regularly goes to school, suppose 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock they are in school, evening when they come back, they're still in the practice of working out maths or writing, taking out points. So the amount of time spent during a day, studying, learning, writing, whatever, it is more. And sir, you very well beautifully addressed the fact that screen time of watching TV, other things on phone and all, that is not highlighted. Whereas the study time based on online videos and online classes are highlighted. So my suggestion as a parent and as a teacher to everyone is, let them watch for entertainment, let them study based on these videos, let them take down points and write notes when they watch the classes. Why can't children have the habit of writing stories or something that interests them, so that their writing speed can be kept alive, particularly for the children who are appearing for boards 2021? And my question to you, sir, is, as we do classes online, it has become difficult to assess them by tests or exams, because we don't know how sincerely the children are going to take up these tests. So I would like you to throw some light on whether these assessment tests are important, or it is enough for the child to learn whatever is being taught during this time? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'm not going to build on your statement because you have supported my or sort of reinforced my feeling, Mrs. Mahalakshmi. So I would say there is no way you can do away without assessments. I mean, say assessments are an integral part of learning. So yeah, so you don't wish it away because whether it is formal or informal is your choice. Okay, so what do I do as a teacher? So this is something that I flip the entire classroom, which means that first thing that I do is I assess the learning history that every single child has. Okay, so I will ask every single child to base his construction on the learning history, giving a particular topic. So, say I have been a teacher of life sciences most of the time. So, I would give a topic for the child to build on based on, say, this is for the higher class level, say board examination classes, let us say.
Yes.
I would give them the material for them to study, and I will ask them to come up with their own narratives for the rest of the class. So, they come up with the narrative. So, they come up with their own questions. So when they come, they become the teachers, I become a student. So they go ahead and give the lecture to the kids. So I can assess informally their ability to grasp concepts and to frame questions. So every single person here builds a lecture notes. So I have my own lecture notes. So I present my lecture notes to the kids and ask them to critically evaluate my lecture notes based on their learning. So they add on to my lecture notes and give me back the lecture notes saying that, sir, you missed this topic. So this could have addressed better. So what I do is the next lecture note that I prepare is based on the students' inputs. Yeah. So then the students' question. So see, my way is that don't give them answers, give them questions. Say, let them ask more and more questions. Every single answer you give will have to give them at least half a dozen open-ended questions. See, the more open-ended questions you see, why here, why not there is an open-ended question. So closed-end questions that define something is a closed end. I mean, so you don't have other answers. So you give them more and more open-ended questions, which will promote them to study more and more. See, the interest that you build into, say, your class, that's the reason I told you, say, sarcasm and wit. So you need to make yourself a joker. I mean, say, all the time, you need to tell them that you are fallible. Say, I will tell them that, sorry, guys, I make mistakes. So, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done in a fashion where they do not insult you. So they see at some point they know that you are only pulling their legs, and so you need to be absolutely aware of what you are trying to play and play that game, because that game is something that they like, especially for a child who is struggling. If he is able to have an answer and you don't have an answer for it, it's a motivation. So motivate them to learn more. So you need to, I mean, you need to have 15 tricks for every single question up your sleeve. So this is like thinking out of the box all the time to create. And I'm certain teachers like you would have plenty of say experiences to create. This is something that I've done which works wonders for me. I mean, say, I'm just sharing this as a teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, like you said, sarcasm and wit, it definitely helps. I've also tried it in the class. My point was only that because we do it in the online module, but you have addressed it perfectly, sir. Instead of us giving them questions and assessing them with the answers, better to let them take that place. Thank you so much, sir. I understood whatever you have mentioned now.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I'll have to, we are overshooting the time. So thank you so much for you have to unmute yourself, sir, because I've just muted everybody. So first of all, so thank you so much for wonderful, out of the world, very honest, very grounded answers. I'm sure people who stayed back till the end, I'm sure they took back a lot of lessons. And very importantly, that the very key message that I'm taking back is, bring more, families back into families, the ecosystem, the family ecosystem, is very important, and parents have a very important role to play in the child's upbringing. And I think I'm sure these questions we can keep going on for the entire day, but then thank you so much, sir. And I think the 2 days that we had spent with you, enormous amount of learning and enormous amount of, what do you say, gratitude that we have for the kind of knowledge that you've shared, the kind of wisdom that you've shared. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
See, thanks to you. Another thing that I would like to uh, ask all of us, I mean, especially if we are teachers, I shared this with Vasanti and Tamil. See, when they asked what would be the topic of interest, I said, like, please give me something where I need to read. Okay, I need to pick up stuff. Because see, that gives us an opportunity to build on our learning. So I would, especially if teachers are there, I would ask them, please start working from your weaknesses and not from your strengths. So I mean, for teachers, it is a phenomenal opportunity to learn. I mean, I would say that these 3-4 months has given me so many opportunities to learn, to share knowledge, to understand, so to think very differently from what I did earlier, and to understand that how each of you is making a contribution. So, I mean, I would say maybe I was not grounded, maybe I was thinking too much of myself, but these times really ask you to think, reflect, and get grounded and understand that you're only but a part of a very large assimilation of knowledge and wisdom. So I'm certain the kind of questions that the parents ask and the teachers ask is maybe driven by some kind of suspicion, but also to make sure that everybody in this platform understands and learns from it. Say for all those that have not asked questions, please feel free to write it, and I'm sure future captains would be happy to curate and send it to me. I will definitely want to answer and get it back to them, and based on their commitment to give it back to you. So please try as an addresses. And for me, the only stupid question is the question you do not ask.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, sir, one thing I am actually expecting is parents who are still, who are still listening to this particular conversation. I want them to at least feel motivated that they could go and kindle the spark in children for their children to become teachers in the future. I want that to happen.
Parents are amazing. See, I mean, hats off to them. I mean, I know the kind of work the parents are doing and trying to balance all. I mean, this is this online business. If you're asking me, an honest opinion is that, oh wow, I put so much of effort, but then the output is only 20%. So the pain of not getting what it's like a machine here. So it's like a machine where the maximum output is only 20%. You can't push the efficiency beyond that. So, so we need to accept and acknowledge it as we move on. So most of our challenges are coming only because of resistance. So the more we are acknowledging, I guess, the more it will be easy for us.
Yes, that's where it starts. Anyways, sir, thank you so much. And
yeah, sorry guys, we are delaying your lunchtime.
Lunchtime, yes, I know. But then I think it was a wonderful food for thought for us to consume. I think a lot of.
I mean, what is a nice movie for today?
I don't know.
So I have to go back home and start my binge movie watching time.
Yeah, 1.5 movies time.
I believe Breath, the series are very good. Abhishek Bachchan.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. So
I haven't
Abhishek
seen
was good. Abhishek and yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I've completed it already.
Wow. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
And, thank you, dear parents, all of you. Thank you, dear teachers. So it has been great sharing my ignorance with all of you. So
thank you so much. This wonderful session.
God bless you all. So happy Sunday, and please stay safe. So children, hi. So I see this little guy waving, so I'm also waving. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, parents. Thank you, teachers. Thanks, team. Thank you, Vasanti, particularly for connecting us with Dr. Bhavani Shankar. And
Now, I think I don't need to be the in between go when all topics have to share with me.
yeah. But then, yes, the gratitude is always there. So thank you,
Not at all.
everyone. I think
It's good learning for all of us. Thank you.
absolutely, sir.
Constant
Absolutely.
learning. That's really good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Enjoy your lunch. Stay safe. Stay at home. See you all. Bye. And those who are, kind of, we want the date for the next program. We have it on 22nd July, Wednesday, and 26th July, Sunday. So plan your day, and these options are given in the feedback form as well. So make sure that you are choosing the option that you want to, the date, convenient date that you want to be part of. Then we can take it from there. And feedback form, the link is here. So please go to the feedback form and give your feedback so that we can get in touch with you and take things forward. Also join our Facebook page, LinkedIn page, YouTube channel, and also a Telegram group for us to be in touch. We can discuss, we can learn together, grow together. All right. Thank you. And you can say some your thoughts while you're leaving. You can just leave your thoughts on the chat box. Would love to know how you felt attending the program.
I think Subhash has got a doubt he's been asking from that time.
Yeah, I mean, we can take it up offline. I mean, we can. I mean, I don't know if he's addressing it to us or Dr. Bhavani
Subhash, you
Shankar.
want sir to us, Bhavani Shankar sir to address you or us to address you?
Yeah. All right.
No, he has to unmute and speak.
Yeah, you have to
No,
unmute
I
yourself.
think I have to. 1 second. Let me do that.
Subhash Velmurugan.
Sir, hello. Am I audible?
You can.
Sir, due to this lockdown, we can't able to go to school. If the school is opened also, shall we go or due to this? Our curricular activities are going reduced. We are out of knowledge. So how can we?
Is sir available online to answer this? I think Subhash,
No,
it's your choice.
Vasanti, you can do it.
Your choice, Subhash, if you want to attend school, depends on your parents and your take about the safety aspect. If you feel that you need to go to school, you can take all the precautions and attend school once it's open. It's your choice, personally your choice.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, I had small doubts, sir.
Yeah, please tell.
Sir, what is the maximum time to attend the online classes, sir?
Online classes, if it's a learning quotient, what you're talking about, it depends on your capability and your patience to learn and adapt to new learnings. Yes, you can even spend, if you can spend 6-7 hours on watching a movie or playing a game, you can spend the same 6-7 hours for learning also. So it all depends on your mental ability to sit in front of the computer and learn.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We had a nice class and we had a nice thought from your.
Thank you so much for attending this program. Please do attend all the other programs we keep conducting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for
ma'am. Thank
valuable.
you.
Thanks for the valuable points you have given, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We had a nice thought from you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all.
Thanks for giving the valuable points. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, we can all, if you're finished, we can leave. We can get to